Welcome to Fake Love and Flying Monkeys, the podcast where fake love is exposed. I'm Nova Gibson and I am your host. I'm the principal counsellor at Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counselling.com.au. This space is dedicated to helping you reclaim your worth and understand the impact of toxic relationships with suspected narcissists. You deserve clarity, healing, and freedom from the pain of fake love and flying monkeys. So please leave a review and grab a copy of my book, Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. Let's uncover the truth and take back your power. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Another one of the narcissist's favorite games to play when they are seeking to really drive you crazy is the game of baiting and bashing their victim. They will hook you in with just the right bait into some nonsensical argument or discussion and then blame you for your reactions. The old bait and bash routine is one of the narcissist's most manipulative, toxic games they play. And it's designed to drive you crazy. 1 minute, everything will seem fine. And the next, you're being provoked. You're being pushed to your absolute emotional limits. And like any other human being on the planet, you react. And then bam, you are suddenly the problem. This is what narcissists do best. They push your buttons. They prod you. They go for your vulnerabilities, your emotional wounds. They'll twist your words. And then once you react, which, by the way, guys, is so normal, then they will bash you for it. They will make you the villain in their story that they've carefully manufactured or crafted. But to begin with, let's look at what baiting actually is. And why do narcissists do this? Well, baiting is a manipulation tactic designed to provoke a reaction. It's not random. It is not an accident. They know your triggers and they know exactly what will get under your skin and elicit the response thereafter. And they'll go there repeatedly because they want that reaction. This emotional reaction that you give them gives them numerous things that they are craving. Number one, it gives them control. When you react, they feel like they're in control of the situation. You also give them validation. You are upset and your response will validate their twisted narrative that you are unstable, aggressive, dramatic, or that you are the abusive one in this relationship. It also gives them narcissistic supply. Narcissists feed off attention, drama, admiration, and your pain and your confusion is that narcissistic supply. It is their oxygen. It is their fuel. And let's not forget the ultimate payoff. It gives them an excuse to play the victim. Suddenly, they're telling everyone how difficult you are, how they're just trying to help or be honest, and you just lashed out in this crazy manner. Now, knowledge really is power, and I want you to be able to spot these tactics in real time so that you can not take their bait when they're dishing it out and you can step back. So let's go through a few ways that narcissists bait their victims. Well, as I said earlier, they will go for your vulnerabilities. They particularly love to poke at your old wounds. So they might bring up something painful from your past, something that you poured your heart out about to them, especially in the early days when they were pretending to be the world's greatest listener. They will casually bring up something painful from your past. Maybe you've shared this secret in confidence. Maybe something they know causes you so much shame or grief. They will deliver it with this smirk on their face, or wrapped or disguised in a joke. And then when you don't find it funny, they will accuse you of being too sensitive if you get upset. So they know this thing is going to hurt you. So of course you're going to be upset. So when they're doing this, the thereafter is your pain, but it's lose in this situation, because if you react in a hurt manner, which of course you are going to do, then you've got no sense of humor. And of course you're overreacting and you're oversensitive. Another classic way they bait you for your reactions is when they engage in withholding and stonewalling. So they'll ignore you when you need emotional support, when you're sick or you have to support a friend or a loved one of yours who's sick. They'll go cold. They'll refuse to engage with you. They'll say, yep, we'll talk later, but they never do. Then when you finally crack because you're not getting the support that you need and deserve in this relationship, you get upset, and then boom. See, you're impossible to deal with. I was just giving you some space so that you could have time to process what's going on. I was trying to do the right thing. Now, most people in a healthy relationship would assume that when you're going through a rough time for whatever reason, that the person you love and the person who purports to love you would be there so you can talk to them, someone that you can process what is happening, basically a shoulder to cry on and someone just to listen and pour your heart out to. A strategy that never fails to get them the reactions they desire is the old subtle insults disguised as concern. They might say something like, oh, are you really wearing that? Maybe you should wear the other dress because I'm concerned about you. I really want you to look nice tonight. And that's not the nicest thing I've ever seen you wear. Or maybe they will tell you that, look, I think you're just being hormonal again, aren't you? Maybe you should go to the doctor and just get yourself checked out. It's only because I care about you. Or they might start off a conversation where, look, don't take this the wrong way, but, and spoiler alert, you will take it the right way because it is an insult and it was meant to cut you deep. And that's the whole point. Triangulation. They love this strategy. They'll bring someone else into the equation, maybe a friend, an ex, a co-worker, to intentionally make you jealous or insecure. They'll say something like, oh, this person at work keeps looking at me and it looks like they're flirting with me. But don't you worry. I see them every day, but I would never give them the indication that I'm interested. And when you react, they will say that, oh, I can't believe you are reacting like this. Why would I tell you about it if you had anything to worry about? You're being set up to explode. And when you do, there it is. Your reaction becomes the real problem. And then there's gaslighting. You call them out on some shady behavior and they're suddenly denying, deflecting, rewriting history. They're rewriting the story in a way that makes absolutely no sense to you. They make you question your memory, your sanity, and your entire reality. Maybe you said to them, why were you flirting with that person right in front of me? And then the narcissist pipes up with something like, oh my goodness, you're imagining things. I was just being polite. You are so insecure. So you are now second guessing your gut and feeling like you are the one with the problem and that maybe you are overreacting. Now, these are just a few tactics they use to bait you, but what's the narcissist's goal in baiting and bashing you? Well, to put it bluntly, it's about control, superiority, and self-preservation. They don't just randomly pick fights or emotionally destroy you for sport, although it can feel that way to you. There is this twisted strategy behind it. The whole bait and bash cycle serves several of their delusional or psychological needs. So after the baiting, now comes the bashing, and the narcissist has you right where they want you, right in the palm of their hand. Once you've taken that bait and reacted, whether you're crying or yelling or shutting down or walking away, that's when the narcissist flips the script. Suddenly, you're the aggressive one. You're the one who needs help. You've lost control of yourself, and they're just this innocent bystander who doesn't understand why you're so upset all the time. They will use your reactions as proof to themselves and to others when they're smearing you that you're to blame for everything that's wrong in this relationship. It's classic blame shifting, and it is so destructive and damaging. And the reason it hurts so damn much is because this cycle of baiting and bashing has you starting to believe their version of events. You feel ashamed of your very normal and appropriate reactions. You start to lose your voice. You're constantly walking on eggshells. You feel stuck, needing their approval, fearing their judgment. You begin to internalize their narrative. You start to think maybe they're right, and maybe you are the reason this relationship feels so tense all the time. But let me be clear, you are not the problem, because as I said, you are having a very normal human reaction to intentional abuse, intentional emotional manipulation, and you are being pushed beyond your limits. And the term that we give to your reaction to their intentional provocation is reactive abuse. If you've ever Googled, am I the narcissist? Or if you've ever read my book, Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse, because you had a fight with a narcissist, then you are not alone. That's part of their plan. They want to confuse you, twist that narrative, and make you question your identity, because you do react in a way that perhaps is volatile and outside of your character. And this is where the concept reactive abuse comes in. It's when you, the victim of prolonged emotional abuse, lashes out, yells, swears, throws a textbook, or you just finally say enough, and the narcissist seizes on to that reaction to paint you as the abuser. And if they're really on their game, they'll get the video out and record you while you're engaging in that reaction. But let me be clear. It's not abuse on your part. It's a survival instinct. It's you reacting to repeated emotional cruelty. It's your nervous system screaming for help and safety. But to the narcissist, it's a game and it's ammunition, and they will use your reactions every time to justify their own abusive behavior when they flip that script. So let's look at some other real life examples of the bait and bash in action. Let's take a look at the narcissistic mother or father who says something like, I was just trying to help you. You're an adult now, but now your narcissistic parent still finds ways to make you feel like you're that rebellious teenager. She'll make a passive aggressive comment over dinner like, well, I guess some people don't care about keeping their homes clean anymore. And she's referring to the fact that your house isn't spotless. Well, whose is when you have kids? But despite the fact you work full time, have kids, no help from her, and you are doing your best, you react, you get defensive, and you might say, well, Mum, I've been really busy lately, I've been juggling so much. You start defending yourself when you shouldn't have to, because you should expect that your mother would understand. But she's got you where she wants you. She rolls her eyes, perhaps, and says, oh, here we go. You were always such a sensitive kid. I thought you would grow out of it. I was just trying to help, but you never want to hear the truth. And just quietly, guys, a narcissistic mother in particular often sees her adult child's independence or boundaries as a threat to her control. So she baits you with criticism, then bashes you for responding. It's a way of maintaining her dominance while painting herself as this misunderstood, caring mother, and you just the ungrateful child. This next one is one I don't think we address often enough, and that is the narcissistic sibling, who, once again, is just being honest. So let's say your sibling has always competed with you. No matter what you do, they will find a way to one-up you or cut you down. Maybe you share some good news. Perhaps you've had a job promotion, or you've got an exciting holiday that you've booked. And their response to your exciting news is something like, that's cool, I guess. Kind of late in life for that, though, isn't it? And you react. Well, wow, you could have just been happy for me. And then comes the bash. Why are you always making things about you? I was just being honest. If you can't handle honesty, then there's something wrong with you. That's not my fault. And once again, suddenly you're defending your right to feel good about your own success. And they've managed to suck the joy right out of it. Let's say you've worked late. You're working your butt off for this organization. You've met all your deadlines and you've even picked up the slack for others. But your boss still finds a way to knock you down. Perhaps in a meeting, they say loudly in front of everyone. Some people think showing up is enough, but we actually need more than that. We need results. They're looking right at you. So you speak up and you say, well, actually, I've been exceeding my targets this quarter and I've stayed back twice last week. And there comes the bash. The boss smirks and says something like, wow, defensive much? This is exactly what I mean. A true professional wouldn't need to brag about that. Again, baited, hooked, and blamed for having a human reaction. Meanwhile, everyone else is watching and you've been publicly humiliated. Narcissistic bosses have to feel superior. By keeping you off balance and unsure of your worth, they stay in control. The bait is a dig at your competency. Your natural response, especially when you know how hard you've been working, is used as an excuse to label you as a difficult, emotional employee who is just not a team player. So why don't victims see it for what it is, especially at first? Well, if you've ever asked yourself, how did I not see this sooner? You're not alone, because narcissists are masters of manipulation, and their baiting tactics are often subtle, strategic, and gradual, and they start off small. Baiting doesn't usually begin with this big, obvious attack. It'll often start with just an offhand comment or a subtle dig here and there, or just some weird contradiction that leaves you really confused. It truly is like death by 1,000 paper cuts, small enough to seem harmless, but each one just chips away at your confidence and your reality. And of course, you're busy chasing the good feeling. Most victims of narcissistic abuse are hooked by the early love bombing phase and that intense affection, attention, and connection at the beginning. It's like emotional heroin. So when the bashing begins, you're not just reacting to the insult. You're trying to get back to the version of them that once made you feel amazing. So you'll tell yourself things like, oh, they didn't mean it, they're just stressed, or this isn't who they really are. You're holding out for that drug, or onto that drug called hopium. You hold out to get the real them, thinking that person will come back, when that version was part of the hook and that person never existed. And the real person that you're in a relationship with, the narcissist, is never going to play fair. They're never looking for resolution or understanding. They will continue to bait you so they can bash you and then play the victim. But what happens when you have your light bulb moment? You realize whom and what they are, and you stop playing their game or allowing them to get that reaction from you, when you flip the script and refuse to react the way they expect you to. Well, when you don't react on cue anymore, the narcissist realizes they're losing control and they hate it. So, guys, now that you know, don't take the bait. I know that's easier said than done, but just recognizing the bait they're putting out there is half the battle. When they say something designed to provoke a reaction, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this a conversation or is this a trap? If it feels like a setup, just pause. You don't owe them good manners, and you do not owe them a response at all just because they're demanding one. You can say something like, I'm not engaging with that, or I can see what you're doing and I'm not going there. Or what I think is the best thing of all, you can say nothing at all. Your silence or your emotional neutrality is like kryptonite to a narcissist. Grey rock them if you have to have some kind of contact, if you share a child or if you work with them. Be as boring as possible so they get their narcissistic supply from someone else. When you give them nothing, no spark, no fire, no drama, they have to get their narcissistic supply, so they lose interest in you and they seek a fresh new source. So instead of jading, justifying, arguing, defending, explaining yourself, try one-word answers. If they send you a 10-page email telling you what a horrible person you are, and there's absolutely nothing in there that you feel is urgent, that you have to respond to, you don't respond. Or if you get a 10-page email and there's one line in there that requires an answer and you feel like you have to answer it, but you can answer it with one word, yes, no, then that's what you do. Even if they send you text after text with those question marks and why are you ignoring me, you continue to give them as little supply as possible. Basically, you are going to starve the beast. You are going to take your power back by removing their supply they're getting from you. And that narcissistic supply is anything that feeds their ego, your tears, your defensiveness, your anger, your efforts to work things out. When you stop giving them that supply, they get frustrated and they will up the ante to get a reaction from you. So expect that and continue to deprive them of that intended supply. To summarize, guys, if you've been caught in the narcissist bait and bash cycle, let me just make this loud and clear. You are not crazy. You are not weak, and you are not overreacting. You're reacting like a normal human being who's been gaslit, manipulated, and emotionally abused. It doesn't make you unstable like they're trying to convince you. It makes you normal. The narcissist wants you to keep doubting yourself and questioning yourself, but you do not have to play their game anymore. My advice is leave, run if you can, and remember all of those strategies to deprive them of their supply if you have to have some contact with them. But my best advice is just to remember that you do not have to prove your innocence to them. You don't owe them anything. And you certainly don't have to justify your feelings, because you deserve peace, clarity, and the freedom to be your full, messy, feeling human self without being punished for it. And that starts with not taking the bait. And that brings us to the end of another Fake Love and Flying Monkeys episode. Thank you for sticking through to the end with me, guys. No more baiting and bashing. They are not going to get the chance, because you're going to step out of the boxing match. You're going to step out of that arena. Now, if you would like to have an individual one-on-one Zoom counseling session with me, please just see my website link in the description. And please order your copy of my book, Fake Love, which is also there, which I know will help you so much. Now, if you'd like to support the channel, which I would be so grateful for, the best thing you can do is to share it and leave a rating and a review. I've left some links there for you to do that. You have no idea how much that helps to put the episode out there into the atmosphere, to make it available to others. So I would be very, very grateful. And on that note, guys, it's bye from me for now. Until tomorrow's episode, remember, you are worthy of love, and you are so worthy of a whole lot more than a lifetime of fake love and flying monkeys.